You ever get fired in front of 60 people at 8:04 on a Monday morning? No warning, no heads up, just a cheap show from a guy trying to prove he's in charge. That was me. 12 years in, and I got walked out like an intern who screwed up a coffee run. My name's Greg. I'm 42. I live in Naperville, Illinois. Worked IT at a mid-sized firm just outside Chicago, the kind of place that runs smooth until someone decides to modernize. Derek, the new VP, was barely 30. Walked in 2 months ago with a $900 haircut and a trust fund thicker than his resume. That morning, he stepped up in front of everyone at our weekly meeting like he was about to accept an award. Then, he pulled the trigger. Effective immediately, we're eliminating outdated roles to streamline operations, he said, eyes sweeping the room like a movie villain. Greg, your position is no longer aligned with our strategic vision. Just like that. People shifted in their chairs, some glanced down. I didn't move, not yet. I didn't even blink. While you're listening, tell us which country you're watching from. He kept talking, something about agility, future-proofing, blah, blah. But I didn't hear the words anymore. All I saw was 12 years of blood, stress, and 3 a.m. server resets getting flushed so some idiot could make a PowerPoint about innovation. I stood up when he motioned toward the exit. Didn't make a scene. I wasn't going to give him that satisfaction. But every step toward that door felt like a slow-motion gut punch. My badge still clipped to my belt. My office keys still in my pocket. The same keys I used to unlock server rooms, backup drives, and cabinets that half the company didn't even know existed. The same keys I never once lost or misused. As I walked past the conference table, I caught the eyes of the younger guys, new hires, IT analysts, interns. They used to ask me questions, look up to me. Now they just looked uncomfortable, like they'd just seen a dog get kicked. I didn't say a word, just kept walking. Out in the parking lot, I sat in my car for a second, staring at the keys in my hand. They felt heavier than usual, not just metal, history, trust. I knew those systems like the back of my hand. Derek had no clue what he just unplugged, and he'd find out soon enough. I turned the key in the ignition and drove off without looking back. I didn't go home right away. Just started driving. Didn't matter where, highway, back roads, whatever. I needed space to think, to breathe without the walls of that office pressing in. The weird part? I wasn't mad about being let go. Not really. I was mad at the way Derek did it. Like I was just some box to check off on his new era speech. He had no clue what I actually did for that place. Hell, most people didn't. I was the guy who handled the stuff no one wanted to understand. Network security, vendor contracts, server uptime, compliance forms no one ever read, but would burn us if ignored. I kept it all running, quietly, efficiently. My phone buzzed in the cup holder, conference call with a vendor, weekly sync I used to run every Monday. Derek probably forgot it existed. I let it ring, not my problem anymore. The screen dimmed. Just like that, a whole part of my life slipped into someone else's inbox. But they were in over their head. Derek thought he fired a cog in the machine. What he didn't realize was, I built the damn machine, and now he was running it blind. I wasn't going to be petty, no scorched earth. I wasn't changing passwords or deleting files. But I also wasn't handing him a map. If he wanted to act like I didn't matter, he could live with that choice. I turned down a side street, just driving past neighborhoods I barely noticed. My pride wasn't bruised over the job itself. It was the disrespect. 12 years of holding the line, fixing fires before anyone smelled smoke, and the guy acted like I was dead weight. Eventually, I pulled into this old diner I used to hit after night shifts. Place hadn't changed, still smelled like burnt toast and fryer oil. I slid into a booth, ordered black coffee, and stepped back out to the car while it brewed. There was a folder in my passenger seat, paper copies of vendor contacts, system diagrams, network topologies, stuff I kept updated for redundancy. Derek didn't even know this folder existed. I opened it, flipped through a few pages, and had to laugh. He was screwed. I scrolled through my contacts and tapped on one. Carl. He worked for one of our vendors. We used to grab beers after meetings. Solid guy. I hit call. He picked up after 2 rings. Greg? Damn, didn't expect to hear from you. Yeah, I said, smiling into the phone. Just checking in. Might be good to stay in touch. That's how I left it with Carl. Nothing too heavy, no plots, no bitterness. Just a light reminder that I was still around, and still in control, whether Derek knew it or not. Next morning, I was sitting at my kitchen table, sipping the same lukewarm coffee from the pot I forgot to clean out yesterday. The folder from the car was spread open next to me, pages marked up, passwords scratched out, old vendor notes in the margins. I wasn't looking for anything specific, just watching the pieces settle. Then my old work phone lit up. I had kept it powered on out of habit, still had the credentials synced. When I saw the name Derek flash across the screen, I didn't hesitate. I answered like I was picking up a spam call. Greg speaking. Why the hell are your credentials still locking me out of vendor access? His voice was already tight. He was scrambling. You'd have to ask HR or security, I said flatly. I'm not with the company anymore, remember? You could have at least left instructions. I wasn't asked to. I was told to leave. Silence. Then the line went dead. I leaned back, still holding the phone, and just waited. I knew what was coming next. Later that morning, Slack notifications started popping up on my laptop. I still had guest access in a few internal channels. Derek's first mistake. He hadn't removed me from the old IT threads. I sat back and watched as things started falling apart. Can anyone access the vendor drive? Why are all the credential trees throwing errors? Emails frozen. What the hell is happening? I kept scrolling, sipping my coffee. A few brave souls tried troubleshooting. Derek jumped in halfway through, offering half-baked guesses. Someone told him to stop trying to override the admin panel. It was triggering recursive sync loops. That's when I realized what he'd done. Tried to bypass system lockouts manually. Big mistake. Without understanding the config trees, he triggered a loop that choked the email server. Internal mail crashed. Access to shared drives blinked out. The whole company went dark within an hour. I didn't move, didn't text, didn't call. Then Carl texted, "Just got a panic call from your old team. They don't know how to get into the compliance portal. Derek said he was handling it. LOL. I smirked and typed back, "Let him handle it." By noon, Derek tried calling again. I ignored it. He didn't know it yet, but his first big failure was already in motion. The best part? I hadn't done a damn thing. I just wasn't there to fix it. Later that afternoon, I sent Carl a sanitized PDF of the vendor contact sheet, missing a few key details, just enough to keep things barely breathing. By Wednesday morning, Derek was already losing his grip. I was sitting on the porch with a second cup of coffee when the first message came through from a friend in payroll. "Hey Greg, any chance you remember the back-end login for the tax tool? Derek's team can't get in. Finance is losing it." I didn't reply. The tax tool wasn't cloud-based. It ran on a legacy system I built out years ago, because none of the finance guys could make heads or tails of the reporting structure. The login wasn't even in the password vault Derek bragged about transitioning to. It was in my head, and that's where it was going to stay. Derek tried calling twice that afternoon, sent one email, then a Slack message marked urgent. I left them all unread. I knew what he was doing, circling vendors, chasing old contacts, probably demanding support from people who barely knew what the systems even were. He hadn't hired a replacement. He thought he didn't need one. Arrogant bastard figured he could automate everything with an app and a few interns. Then I got an email that made me pause. It was from Amanda, used to be one of our analysts, now over at Titan Core, one of our top competitors. Subject line, interested in a conversation? Her message was short, friendly, said she'd heard what happened. They needed someone with deep infrastructure experience, and she remembered how I'd carried most of the company's back end without ever taking credit. Tempting? Yeah. But I wasn't done with Derek yet. That same night, Derek sent a mass email to the company. I saw it get posted in a private Slack thread I still had access to. As part of our ongoing modernization efforts, we're experiencing temporary growing pains. We appreciate your patience as we continue streamlining operations for future success. Translation: everything's on fire, but please act like it's fine. My old team had a field day. One guy posted a meme of a dog sipping coffee in a burning room. Another replied, "Streamlining operations. Wasturdios, nobody knows where the compliance data lives." I didn't comment, just watched it unfold. Derek's pride wasn't just showing, it was bleeding out in front of the whole staff. He couldn't admit he was over his head, and I knew exactly how much deeper he could dig. Next morning, I started getting vendor calls. "Hi Greg, just wondering, who's the new point of contact for audit logs? Hey, our invoice got kicked back. Is someone else handling compliance now?" I kept my answers short. You'll need to check with Derek's office. That's it, nothing more. The cracks weren't just forming, they were spiderwebbing. I wasn't just watching the chaos anymore. I was letting the pot boil over on its own. The first real crack turned into a sinkhole that Friday morning. I was halfway through a run when my phone buzzed nonstop. 5 missed calls, 3 texts, all from people I hadn't heard from in weeks. When I finally checked the notifications, I saw the subject line that made me grin. Urgent, security audit failure, regulatory review. Triggered their biggest client, Vection Tech, had sent a formal notice. The company missed a required security check that I'd personally scheduled to auto-renew every quarter until Derek streamlined it. Now it was overdue by 6 weeks, and the oversight had triggered an automatic audit. Derek was cooked. An hour later, my phone rang again. Unknown number, I answered. "Greg, this is Sharon," a voice said, tight, controlled. She was the CFO. "Listen, I know you're not with us anymore, but is there any chance you can access the old compliance records? We're in serious trouble here." I took a sip of water, waited a beat. "Sorry, Sharon, my access was revoked, remember? You'll have to go through Derek." She sighed. "Derek doesn't even know what to ask for. Half the documentation references your protocols. Legal's tearing their hair out." "That's unfortunate," I said, keeping my tone flat. "Wish I could help." Click. I stood there, phone in hand, letting that moment sink in. 12 years of invisible work. Now they were seeing just how much it mattered. By that afternoon, the fire had spread. Derek tried throwing together some patchwork excuse for the client, but his emails leaked. My old team forwarded me screenshots. Half the company now knew Vection was preparing to walk. Legal started digging through the compliance backlog. Problem was, most of the systems were chained together through scripts I'd written years ago, carefully, manually, with proper documentation. The moment Derek tried to simplify, he broke the links. There was no quick fix. Then I got a call from Paul, an external consultant who'd done risk audits with us before. "Greg," he said, "you hearing what's happening over there?" "I've heard pieces," I said. "Vection's done. They're pulling the plug. Can't get a single document verified. Whole compliance structure's collapsed. Derek's losing it in every meeting." I smiled, small, quiet, satisfied. "Guess modernization didn't go as planned." Paul chuckled under his breath. "You think they'll survive it?" "No," I said. "Not this time." By evening, the announcement went public. Vection Tech formally withdrew all contracts. The stock price started sliding before the markets closed. Derek's modernization was trending on LinkedIn for all the wrong reasons. And then came the final call. "Unknown number, again," I answered. "Mr. Lawson," a woman's voice said, crisp and serious. "This is Karen from the board. We need clarity on what went wrong with our systems." I didn't hesitate. That would be a question for Derek. He's in charge of operations now. Before she could respond, I hung up. Derek was finally realizing just how deep the hole was, and I hadn't lifted a finger to dig it. Phone rang again. This time I recognized the number. Derek. Finally decided to face it. I let it buzz twice before answering. "Greg." His voice came in hot. "You need to fix this. Now. The board's breathing down my neck, Vection's gone, and legal's acting like I burned the building down." I kept my voice steady. "Sounds like things are going well." "This isn't funny," he snapped. "You know damn well this is your mess. You left holes everywhere. You didn't document anything." I let out a quiet breath, leaned back in my chair. "Derek, the board already called me. They're asking questions you were supposed to have answers to. If you're not ready for the job, that's not my fault." He went quiet for a second, then he changed tactics. "Greg, come on. You've been here longer than anyone. Don't let this place go down just to prove a point. You cared about this company." "I did," I said, "until the company stopped caring about me." "You're punishing everyone just to get back at me?" "No," I said, keeping my tone ice flat. "I'm doing nothing. You fired me. You pushed me out. And now you're pissed because the machine you don't understand won't run without the guy who built it." He snapped again, voice rising. "You think you're some kind of hero? You left us in the dark." "I left clean," I said. "You never asked for a transition, never sat down with me. You made a show out of firing me, remember? That was your big leadership moment. You're not better than me." "I don't need to be," I said. "But I was better at the job." He didn't respond. The silence stretched. "You gambled people's jobs to stroke your ego," I added. and now the company's bleeding because of it. When he spoke again, he sounded smaller. I didn't expect it to fall apart this fast. That's the problem, Derek, I said. You didn't expect anything. You thought it was all about appearances. He sighed, long, frustrated, defeated. So what now? Now, I said, standing up. You answer to the board, not me. I ended the call before he could say anything else. 2 minutes later, my email pinged. Offer from Titan Core. Formal, this time. Big money, no interview. Just a consulting role waiting, with my name already on it. The fire was still burning, and Derek was the one holding the matches. I didn't even finish reading the offer. I didn't need to. Titan Core's legal department laid it out clean. Consulting contract, 6 months minimum, full control of infrastructure recovery on their end, plus a retention bonus if I could stabilize what Derek's mess had almost taken down with it. I clicked reply, typed one word, accepted. That was it. No meetings, no groveling, no fake smiles around a table pretending we were moving forward together. Just a real offer from people who understood what I brought to the table and weren't stupid enough to toss it out. An hour later, I was on my back porch, laptop open, sun going down, when the notification popped up. Breaking, Derek Simmons resigns. Amid ongoing tech crisis. His photo was right there, tie loose, eyes blank, jaw tight. The headline didn't even try to soften the blow. The article made it clear. Regulatory failure, major client losses, stock drop, mass panic. The board was already searching for a replacement. I leaned back, watched the chaos unfold from a distance. The same guy who strutted into that Monday meeting like he was the second coming of Steve Jobs was now nothing more than a footnote in a flame-out story. The contracts I used to hold steady? Gone. Vendors had pulled out. Clients had walked. The support teams were gutted trying to fix damage they didn't cause. All because Derek thought leadership meant cutting corners and flexing in front of a crowd. And now there was no crowd left. Just silence, and a trail of broken systems behind him. I didn't feel sorry, not even close. That was the cost of arrogance. I pulled up my onboarding docs for Titan Core and started scanning the infrastructure charts. They were a mess, different from what I was used to, but familiar enough, fixable, buildable. This time, I'd do it smarter, with authority, with people who knew the value of groundwork before the spotlight. My phone buzzed again, this time from Amanda. Simple message. Welcome aboard, let's make it count. I smiled, closed the laptop, and stood up. Greg Lawson, ex-sysadmin? Nah, that guy was done. Now I was the one holding the blueprints, the one they turned to when everything was on the line. And this time, I wasn't just behind the scenes. What would you have done if you were in Greg's shoes? Helped or let it burn? Drop your answer in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more revenge stories.